So my first involvement with the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, what's now called the Information Communications Technology Committee, used to be the Informatics Committee, was about 15 years ago. And the chief of the Ottawa Police at the time brought me along to a conference in Cornwall, the first that they'd held, and we held them every 2 years since then. And that really opened my eyes to the kind of the national landscape and the importance of information management on the national scope and actually internationally. And since then, I've been on that committee as a strategic advisor. Information management in the Canadian landscape mirrors that of the world internationally. We're seeing a huge movement towards convergence, the demand for increased levels of access to information, whether it be the use of social media, connectivity through the different data systems, wireless computing out to the officer on the street. Over the last few years, I think most of us are starting to see that the economics of policing and community safety is driving us to find ways to share this information and to find ways to do it on a more cost-effective way. One of the greatest challenges that we're facing is that the systems that have been built over the last 30 years were all built in silos. So they're not actually interoperable. They're not able to share information from one system to another. Currently in Canada, unfortunately, because of the silos, information that one police service might need is actually being held by another, but we have no way to know it. So to manage that risk, one of the things that the chiefs have said to the ICT committee is we need to find a better way to manage information across the nation and, where appropriate, internationally, so that officers that require information, whether they be investigators or counterterrorism investigators at the national level, if they have a need to have that information and have the authority to have that information, they should get that information. In the law enforcement community in Canada, there's something called the duty to protect, but also the consistent use theory, which basically says that if you get information in your police service and that would be consistent with me having it in my police service, we're actually allowed to share it. What we have, though, is structural, systemic barriers to that sharing that involve older technology and challenges like that. Over the last 3 years, since 2012, we've started developing an evidence-based strategy that's going to, over the next 5 to 10 years, help this situation by ensuring that systems that we build in the future, we're not going backwards in time and rewriting CPIC or rewriting some of the systems that we've had for a long time. New systems that we purchase, we want to make sure that they're compliant with the community safety information management strategy that's been developed. And that strategy essentially says that whatever you build should be interoperable with other systems. Many agencies are looking at systems like unmanned air systems, body-worn cameras, laptops. All these are separate technologies. They're not. They're part of an ecosystem. And one of the things that we're recommending through this new strategy is that we look at a national level vision that ties all those pieces of information, it's data, into one form that we can share on a national level. Not to say we're going to buy one system, not to say that we're going to buy one through one major procurement. No, these are multiple procurements by multiple agencies, but they're interoperable because they're based on standards. In my experience, I've seen 3 really key issues that need to be addressed when moving forward with information management. Those are vision, leadership, and funding. If I had to choose 2 of those 3, however, I would choose vision and leadership. That's not to say that funding isn't important, but without vision, without leadership, and that's where the chiefs of police come in. That's where leaders from across the country come in to kind of set that Stephen Covey-ish long-term climb to the top of the tallest tree, look out of the forest and say, we're in the wrong forest. Chiefs really need to be concerned about information management and the law enforcement and policing community, primarily because of their job as the risk manager for the organization. Ultimately, they, through their boards, are held accountable for all the actions of police services. As chiefs, our job from the ICT committee's perspective is to make sure that we help them manage that risk and find ways to improve information management in Canada.